Thank you. Okay. Okay. Good evening. My name is Burdetta Hodge, the president of Tempe Union High School District Governing Board. Tempe Union continues to maintain social distancing for safety of our community. The boardroom is closed. The board members and others are participating in this meeting virtually. Our meeting is being streamed live. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel and the governing board page of the district website by the end of day Friday. I'm going to reconvene this meeting. The time is now 7:07. I'd like to welcome everyone. Will you please stand while Burdetta Hodge recites the Pledge of Allegiance? While following the pledge, we will have a moment of silence. Thank you. Uh, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, knowing myself, we always start off with the quote of the day for me. And this quote is very important because it came from a fellow a board member in Kyrene District, board member Margaret Pratt. And she sent this to me, and it's do you do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you will be criticized anyway. And that's by Eleanor Roosevelt. So thank you so much for that, Board Member Pratt. We're going to start the report from the superintendent, starting with Dr. Mendeville.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, executive team, and those who are in our viewing and listening audience. I appreciate your taking the time to listen to the goings on of Tempe Union High School District. You know what? I have some celebrations that I would like to share this evening, and we probably haven't heard as many as we would in a typical year, but I want to give a huge shout out, congratulations to our 2021 National Merit semifinalists. This year, 17 Tempe Union students from Corona del Sol, Desert Vista, McClintock, Mountain Point High Schools are in the running for the National Merit Scholarship Program. Students are selected for this program based on their PSAT scores, which are amongst the top in the state of Arizona. Winners will be chosen from the finalist group based on their abilities, skills, and academic accomplishments. Our semifinalists are as follows: Corona del Sol, 7 total. Anisha Hussein, and please apologize. I apologize in advance if I mispronounce a last name. Leo Kubota, Julia Liu, Elijah Stewart, Malachi Vaughn, Xingwen Wang, Teodora Zawalek. Desert Vista High School, there were 3: Cole Brown, Holly Kiesel, and Alan Lynn. McClintock had 6: Noble Harasha, Louisa Kaplan, Davis Liu, Carter Miller, Layla Olson, and Rachel Pabst. And Mountain Point has 1 in our Benjamin Sicarelli. So congratulations to these 17 students for reaching National Merit semifinalists positions. Very, very, very proud of you. And parents, you should be extraordinarily proud of them as well for the good work that they have done. Secondly, and I'm really excited about this opportunity for our teachers. Tempe Union High School District is beginning a formal process to encourage the attainment of the most prestigious recognition of teaching practice, and that is the National Board Certification. It's a multi-year process that evaluates the teacher's ability to meet the highest standards of teaching excellence. Candidates must complete 4 modules and present evidence that are reviewed by the National Board to determine whether the candidate has met the standard required to earn this recognition. This is a big, big deal for our teachers. It's like the Academy Award. I was fortunate to be present for Cheryl Dunham's her certification award ceremony last year. Cheryl Dunham is a science teacher at Marcos Deniza, and a fabulous one at that. She's working with our first cohort in their preparation to earn this recognition. We are also partnering, I'm very excited about this as well, with the AZ K-12 Center to support our teachers through this process, which could provide scholarship funding for teachers to earn their certifications. Our first cohort of 6 outstanding teacher candidates in our districts, they come from a variety of schools. Adrian Jack Vermeer, a math teacher at Compadre. Amanda Johnson, English teacher at Corona. Erica Shelton, Spanish teacher at Mountain Point. Felissa Dixon, math teacher at Marcos de Niza. John McAllister, social studies teacher at Mountain Point, and Kelly Muchmore, Spanish teacher at Marcos de Niza. So I'm very, very proud of these teachers to embark this journey because they're really the creme of the creme in terms of our teachers and what they're going to be able to impart as they earn this certification to others. So this is our first, but it won't be our last cohort. We want to build capacity with our teacher leaders, and this is just one excellent way in which we can achieve that. Madam President, that is my presentation, and I know that Mr. McDonald is next, that he will be presenting on our health metrics.
Okay, before we actually go to Mr. McDonald, we do have one of our board members who turned 21 over the weekend and would like
That
to
is
sing
true.
happy birthday to her. So, so we all don't have to sing off key. I will sing it for you. Um, Happy birthday to you.
To
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michelle. Happy
happy birthday
birthday
to
to
you,
you.
and
Yay!
Thank
and
you
many more,
very, very much.
many more.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bernetta.
You're very welcome. And now we will go to Mr. McDonald.
I'm not sure if I can follow that. Happy birthday, Mrs. Helm. Governing board members, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. We would like to go ahead and present the metrics. I'll share my screen with you. There we are. So we'll go ahead and get started with the metrics. If we look at the Arizona Department of Public Health, Maricopa County, you'll see there that we are actually all in yellow and green, so that is good. We are staying below the 100 per 100,000 cases. In this case, we were at 5% and also below 5% for benchmark 3. So trending very well across Maricopa County. Unfortunately, as we get into the Tempe Union High School boundaries, we see that this last Thursday, we were in substantial overall risk level with the virtual scenario. What we're very concerned about is the cases per 100,000. At this point, it's 198.78. And also we saw the percent positivity go up approximately 3% to 7.6. So we're going to have to monitor this tomorrow, see if we can get below the 100 cases per 100,000, and then also below 7% for our positivity rate. The reason why these are happening, of course, when we look at the zip codes of Tempe Union, 85281, of course, this is the Arizona State University area. We're seeing that it's also in the substantial range. In this case, when you compared it to where we were in the district, just under 200 cases per 100,000, here we're looking at 729.23 cases per 100,000, which is significant. And then also the positivity rate was at 17.39%. Now, yes, a lot of people would say this has to do with ASU, but we want to also have you know that ASU has 4 campuses, and many of those campuses have different zip codes. So all the ASU students just didn't go into the 85281 category. In fact, if they lived on campus or in the 85281 area, renting an apartment or a house, they went into this area. However, if we had a student, say a former let's say Corona student who lives in 85284 and just goes there to be a student but returns back home, and they were positive COVID, that metric would have went towards the 85284 category. So I just wanted to be clear that, you know, what we're seeing here is probably more than likely a lot of ASU students who live on campus or in that area, but also what will happen because of the positivity rate being so high, you know, anywhere in those areas, and then also creeping over boundaries to the 85282 as we see here, those numbers are up as well. And so again, this could be from students who rent their houses and apartments in that area, but also as communities start having an outbreak, we'll see this type of growth happen. So again, in 85282, we're in the substantial range. Again, 85282 and 281 will impact our Tempe high schools and our McClintock high schools. The cases positivity here, we're still over the threshold of the moderate at 101. Remember, they have to be below 100. And percent positivity, though, in the yellow, it's in the high yellow. It needs to be below 7% for 2 consecutive weeks. As we continue to move south into 85283, of course, 283 and 284 are trending very well. Slight increases in 283, and we actually saw all the metrics for 85284, all 3 being in the green area. And if we could do that a second week, then we will show a mild area in 85284. As we continue to move 85044, and this affects our Mountain Point boundaries and some in the Desert Vista area. We're very pleased to see these numbers, again, trending in the right direction, from 45 down to 38 cases per 100,000. And then the percent positivity has also gone down to 2.46%. We'll notice the COVID-like incidents are down to 2%, and that's basically the number of cases that they're seeing in the hospitals. And that has been trending down and been in the green area for the last several weeks. If we go to 85048, we see a slight uptick in the cases per 100%, but again, below the 100 per 100,000. And so we're okay with that. We did see a little decrease in the percent positivity. Moving on to our Corona area, mostly 85226. Again, a little uptick. We may see tomorrow when the metrics come out, probably see some of the upticks from Labor Day weekend, potentially. But we expect that we have 4 of these reports coming out, 1 tomorrow and 3 more after that, prior to the October 13th date. So we'll be monitoring these over the next 4 weeks, of course, to ensure that it's safe to open our schools. As we get into the baseline corridor into Phoenix, and again, this will impact our Tempe High School, 85040, you do see it's substantial, but it's positive in the fact that our cases per 100,000 are going down from 93 to 36, and the percent positivity went from almost 15% down to 6.83%. And if they could do that again tomorrow, we'll be in the moderate and hybrid learning scenario. So that was one of the areas that we were concerned about in the past. Very, very happy to see those metrics going in the right direction. 85041, again, same thing. Tomorrow, if we see the cases below 100 per 100,000 and percent positivity below 7%, we will definitely be in the moderate area with a hybrid scenario as well. And that will impact McClintock High School as well. When we see 85042, they're trending in a great direction. They are where 85040 and 041 were a week ago. And you see here that they have moved within the moderate hybrid learning scenario. Their cases per 100,000 are continuing to drop. Positivity did go up a little bit, but definitely trending in the right direction. Here we have Pinal County, and of course our town of Maricopa, 2 zip codes, 85138 and 139. And for benchmark 1A and 1B, we've noticed because of the August 16th, 106 per 100,000 cases, it did go back down to 87, but that has to be 2 consecutive weeks. So if we're below 100 per 100,000 tomorrow, that will again turn to yellow. We'll be back in the moderate hybrid area. What we've done here is that in the past I've shown you Tempe High and Mount Point, but I wanted to show all schools as an average. And what we've done is taken the zip codes in that area. To be statistically valid, we took the zip codes that have an N number of 40 or higher. So that means 40 students in that zip code or higher in order to make sure that our average made sense and it wasn't swayed in any way. Tempe High School, because of 85281 and because of 85040, is still at this substantial range. We were in the moderate range. The cases per 100,000 are 160.55, and we've also gone up in percent positivity, 8.44. We feel good that it's still below 10%, but we'd like to see that go a little bit lower. And again, to get down to that moderate range, we need to go below 100 per 100,000 people in cases and do that for 2 consecutive weeks. As far as McClintock, because of 85041, 85040 and the 85281 zip code, we have noticed that we went again from moderate to substantial. There's 140 cases per 100,000. Though our percent positivity has gone up a little bit, it's still in the moderate range. And so again, tomorrow we hope that we see the cases per 100,000 decrease. Marcos Ceniza is trending well. Went up a little bit in cases, so we'll continue to watch that, and a little bit in percent positivity, but yet they're all in the yellow and green, and so they continue to be in the moderate hybrid area. And Corona del Sol, also moderate to hybrid area. They are trending downwards in both cases per 100,000 and percent positivity, so we're pleased to see that as well. And Mountain Point, as we spoke of earlier, because of 85040 trending downward. They are at moderate and hybrid right now. They did go down a little bit in cases per 100,000 and also in percent positivity. Their COVID-like illnesses are 2.12 because we had to average that with the Pinal County, which is a little bit higher than the 2.0 of Maricopa. And then Desert Vista High School also in the moderate hybrid learning scenario. The cases went up a little bit, percent positivity went down, in fact went down to the green, so we'll continue to monitor Desert Vista, but they are also trending very well. And then of course Compadre Academy staying about the same in the moderate hybrid scenario, 39 cases per 100,000. Percent positivity did go up, but it trended about the same as August 27th, so we'll continue to watch that as well. I wanted to remind people about the COVID-19 continuum of school learning scenarios. Sometimes I think we forget these things, or maybe some of us have never even seen this, but this is from the Arizona Department of Health Services, and this was given to us to talk about how to move within the benchmarks and within the scenarios using the benchmarks. And so currently we're in scenario 3. Again, we're still red in some areas. We want to be moving into the hybrid model. And so we are often in the scenario of 3 because that is a substantial community spread, which means cases are greater than 100 cases per 100,000. The percent positivity is greater than 10%, and COVID-like illnesses are greater than 10%. The state has given these benchmarks to us, and the benchmark levels that we need to meet. In scenario 2, to get there, we have to be between 10 and 100 cases per 100,000 for the first benchmark. We also have to be between 5 to 10% but below 7%, below or percent positivity to get to the hybrid area, and between 5 to 10% for COVID-like illnesses. If in case we go back up in any of those areas higher than that threshold, we would have to revert back to the scenario. So if we were in hybrid and our cases went above 100% again, we would have to go back to a virtual setting. In order for us to get to scenario 2 to scenario 1, which is our traditional, we need to get below 10 cases per 100,000. Also below 5% for percent positivity and below 5% for COVID-like illnesses. I think the important piece here is when we talk about hybrid means some students in the physical buildings while some students are distance learning. And so they're not always, and you'll see that little graphic above it, they're not always in the classroom full time and they're not always in a virtual setting full time. There's a hybrid or a mixture of those two. So again, the Arizona Department of Health, this is another way to look at it. And again, for us, scenario 3 is virtual. And to move into scenario 2, the state gives us those percentages and those numbers. And so we hope to be in those categories in the next couple of weeks, and we have been in that category, although we know we trended up in some of our communities this past week. We hope and we believe in prediction that we will get back to a moderate and hybrid setting in order to phase into hybrid 2, which again are some students in the physical buildings, while some are socially or distancing from home, and then vice versa. In order to move from scenario 2 into scenario 1, we spoke about that. When we met in August 26th at a special session, we gave us an example of what our scenarios could look like. And for us, we said our scenario 3 is virtual, but we gave a 3-phase scenario, and that was phase A being cohorting 1 day per week. Phase B in scenario 2 was cohorting 2 days per week, and that was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then phase C would be 4 days a week for all of our students. Phase C is important though, because along with that, some people might think, well, isn't that the same as phase 1? In the case that it's not only just because of the Wednesday, but because in scenario 2 in the hybrid, we're still able to use the mitigating factors and behaviors. Once we get to scenario 1, things like symptom screening and physical distancing, cloth mask, the cohorting, large gatherings are allowed, and community spaces would be reopened. In this case, we're still able to use all those mitigating factors when in phase 2C. What we learned though from our community and from our teachers and our parents and our administrators is that it may be difficult to actually go into a phase 1, and where we were in our numbers and where we're feeling, would it be best? We always want to do what's best for our students and for our staff, and in doing that, it was suggested that we would go ahead and remove phase A and start October 13th in scenario 2B. And so we would look at Monday and Tuesday. In doing that, when you get rid of phase A, we also would get rid of these metrics. And so those would no longer be. And so it would look now, we would be suggesting currently being in scenario 3, and we all want to move as soon as we meet those, all 3 benchmarks. So below 100 cases, below 7% positivity rate, and below 10% COVID-like illnesses. And then we're suggesting an example of 2 scenarios, or I'm sorry, 2 phases in scenario 2. That would be, again, the 2 days. So we're removing the 2A, 2B, and 2C. We're just going to call it scenario 2, 2 days per week, again, Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. But we feel that that would be too long in order to get to scenario 1. So we also just suggested that we move into another phase, which would be a 4-day week model, where all students would go to school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. except for those students who wanted to continue to work virtually from home. To get there, we're suggesting that we have to be below 25 cases to 100,000 for a 2-week decline. And that's what it was prior, because we did that study in epidemiology. And of course, we wanted to use the half-lives in order to get to that. We also have to be below 5% positivity and below 5% for COVID-like illnesses. So I'll open it up for any questions at this time and stop sharing my screen.
Board Member Barraza.
I apologize, Board President. I believe I saw Michelle Helm, Board Member Helm, raise her hand first. I don't know if she would like to provide input. I tend to learn a lot from what she provides too.
Okay, well, Board Member Helm.
Thank you. Sean, I apologize in advance for frustration that may come through my voice when I talk to you about this, but I'm looking at about 4 weeks until October 13th. We have to be 2 weeks free of all of this. I don't see those 2 zip codes or those 2 schools, Tempe and McClintock, possibly making it. And will we open, and I'm stressing that I think we should open those schools that can be opened October 13th, or do you have plans to open Tempe and McClintock, knowing that the bulk of the people are ASU students that these numbers are reflecting?
That's a great question, Mrs. Helm. What I did is I made a phone call over to ASU today to see what kind of numbers we're actually looking at and how they're charting their numbers as well. A good conversation Dr. Mendeville and I had this morning to try to look into that data a little bit more clearly. The other thing is that I'm constantly watching real-time numbers as well. And I believe that all of these schools, I'm going to go out on a limb, a prediction to say that though we might be in a higher area of moderate to hybrid, I believe that all of those areas will still be yellow in those schools, as well as we're seeing the downturn happen in schools like Mountain Point as well. And so I believe we're going to be in good shape. I hope to get that information from ASU shortly, and it will help me make a better prediction.
And why, if that we still have one school, let's say Tempe High, that closest to ASU, that still is in the red, why should we not open the remaining schools October 13th?
Well, I think
hate to see our whole district waiting for ASU students to stop going out to parties or wherever they're catching this.
I think the other thing that's important is that we have to look at the average as well. And so when I think about what that average is going to look like, and we average the whole school, many of our students, more than half of our Tempe High community comes from outside of our district. There is Tempe High, 85281 for Tempe High is 218 students. So that gives you out of about 1,600, 218 live in the Tempe High area. The rest live outside. So I think when we balance and average the rest of the zip codes out, we're going to see that dip go below and be at the moderate hybrid area. We still have 4 weeks of tracking. So we'll get one tomorrow and then 3 more weeks after that.
Dr. Mendeville, this is more directed toward you. I don't want us to turn into Phoenix Union. As we've all read, they are going through this whole semester virtually. And I think our kids need to be back October 13th at the latest. And I hope that there is some plan if our numbers aren't quite there on 1 or 2 of our northern schools. And thank you.
Board Member Helm and members of the board and Mr. McDonald, those are all valid points. And I want to commend Mr. McDonald for the detail that he has put forward, and he's living and breathing all this data, and he's doing a very nice job of keeping it together and telling us an accurate picture and giving us the entire story. I would agree, because that we were on the right trajectory in terms of an overall district showing in terms of the positivity and meeting the metrics, and we were going in the right direction. The ASU students, that's a different component that we have to factor in when we're looking at opening our schools. I would concur with Mr. McDonald. I right now, just on the metrics alone, because the other zip codes are moving, they're trending in the right direction. And so my proposal would be that we continue down that pathway to begin on October 13th. And if need be, we would provide additional kinds of support to the 2 schools or 1 school that might be most impacted to a smaller or even an incremental degree. And ways in which we can do that would be, being more diligent with the temperature checking, being more diligent with the number of students that are in a room. Maybe we monitor that. Now, on the flip side, with our northern schools, we had 60% of our families that wanted to remain home in a virtual format anyway. So I think with all those variables in place, we can balance it out where we can make a good decision on behalf of the entire district for all 7 schools.
Thank you. I'm much reassured. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Anybody else? Board Member Barraza.
Actually, my question had to do with something entirely different. I saw a couple of reactions in terms of hands raised from my board members. Before I pull the conversation elsewhere, I think, is there anyone else that has comments? I do have comments on that particular topic, but I just don't want to pull the conversation back. If anyone else, really quick, has something.
Mrs. Lau?
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. That was really a good presentation. And, I'm on the same page as Michelle. I think we need to stick with the October 13th. And I think if we see a dip in 1 week, we have to look at it realistically and look at the next week. So, I don't see any reason at this point that we wouldn't be opening on October 13th. And if there is a zip code that gets into trouble for more than 2 or 3 weeks, perhaps we can have stronger communication with the families about taking temperatures at home as well as at school. I think there's some things we can do to, safeguard that school a little bit more. So I appreciate the information, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to speak? No. Okay, Board Member Barraza.
Yes, first off, Sean, thank you so much for the work that you put in the presentation, and in fact, all the work you put into understanding the issue and how it's going to affect our school district. There's a lot that you and your team do that the community and ourselves as board members don't see. I really want to thank you and the executive team, for our district for that. I guess for me, there's a few things. There's some realities that we have to consider. The fact is we're likely to sail into a storm this fall with the numbers increasing. I agree with my board members that we need to look in terms of how we can open up. At some point we're going to have to. So I think we need to start training for that moment, regardless, and we can be responsible with doing it. I think for me, one of the concerns, there's a lot, and I think I just want to narrow it for the moment for this one, is I feel that we need the 1 day a week for at least this quarter. And the reason why I say it is because we're going to be dealing with a tough situation, and shutting down an entire school because of a zip code doesn't make sense if it's hovering above, 1/10 of 1%. But at the same time, also opening a school in that regard. I think for me, I would like to see the 1 day only because I think it's a phase-in approach for educators in our district, students, and staff in general, just be able to understand how we're going to be able to function. And I think the 1 day a week just allows us to be able to be a little more cautious on doing that. We don't have to guarantee that that's going to be the whole quarter. I don't think that's the case. And honestly, I would even say get rid of it and do the 2 day a week model, the secondary model that you guys were considering on the second semester. I'm just concerned about the whole phasing in, and when we say, come back, and there's going to be just some rough edges. You're already hearing it on the news, and there's social media, Instagram stuff. I mean, you can see pictures of just like classrooms flooded or hallways flooded, or people complaining about something going on, or this process isn't right, and people getting sick, which is inevitable. So I think the 1 day a week approach is where I feel comfortable. Yes, we need to start looking at moving forward. Also, I think we don't understand that the fact is we're going to have shutdowns in other matters too, cohorts. Certain cohorts are going to, shut down. It's going to be a very complicated fall. But I just wanted to express my concern to you, Mr. McDonald, that I do think we need the 1 day a week, and I think you and your team will be able to gain valuable information and feedback from the staff utilizing that aspect before we go on the 2 day a week. I want more flexibility for you and your team and for the teachers. And so that's more of a comment. The question I do have for you, Mr. McDonald, because I know you know a lot about HVAC, is what are we doing? What can we do in terms of our ventilation? Just so I understand. I know we have gymnasiums locker rooms that are still in need of that. Is this something that we need to really address right away? Because I think the board would be willing to put some capital towards those improvements in order to make sure that the students do have an environment that we can move forward.
Thank you for that question. Couple things to your comment first. I appreciate that. My team would probably say that I'm more of the conservative side when it comes to COVID, however, I wouldn't put our students or our staff in any type of danger if I didn't believe that the 2 day a week model, based on two things, that being the metrics and also how well people are doing with the health mitigation plan and putting those things in place. That comforted me more than anything, is how the adults in the building right now are taking this seriously, setting up the campuses, living the health mitigation plans to a T. And so I appreciate that, but in my humble opinion, I think we're going to be in good shape with the 2 days a week, and it's going to be able to provide even a better opportunity for our students. As far as the HVAC opportunities, we're actually putting a lot in place. So we're increasing the percentage of outdoor air potentially as high as 100% in some areas. And that will allow a lot of the aerosol or the droplets to be removed and be replaced with fresh outside air. We're increasing the total airflow supply into our spaces. We have what we call building automated systems, and we have that capability to make changes in the system. So we're doing that, and we're starting that as of next Monday even, to see how much air that we could take out and still balance the system with the air conditioning and different things that need to happen. We're going to try to use natural ventilation as well. So some campuses have windows or opportunities that they have to pull in more natural ventilation. Excuse me. We have exhaust fans that we'll continue to use on a regular basis. We're going to move our MERV up. We're currently at 8. We're going to move that system up, and we have a couple different options we're looking at for our filter systems. We've adjusted all of our filter housing, and it's all appropriate and working. We're going to start redoing the air a little bit earlier, taking a lot of the outside airflow 2 hours before and 2 hours after campus is closed, just to make sure that we have fresh air running through that building, and we don't have that stagnant type of air in the building. Again, site maintenance will continue to inspect all of the exhaust fans in the labs and the gyms and the locker rooms, things that, we sometimes are bigger areas, but we want to make sure that the aerosol or the droplets are at low levels. And then we're going to continue to review all the recommendations. We're working with our 3 companies, our HVAC companies, and with Mike Thorby's doing a great job in helping support all of that.
I really appreciate that feedback. I know that you have a strong background in architecture and, in just engineering in general and HVAC. We've toured some of the campuses, and a lot of our HVAC systems are very intricate, and I appreciate you taking me to tour a lot of our sites during the past weeks, to make sure that I see, kind of where we're at and just get familiar. It's stuff that I enjoy. I really appreciate that. I think the biggest benefit is exactly what you're talking about. Our ability to be able to, look at negative pressure, positive pressure ways, and being able to create ventilation exits, in this complicated HVAC system. It's more than just our pipes. And I really appreciate that you understand all of that first and foremost. And I'm thankful that Mike Thornsby is very, knowledgeable in all our construction projects going on and what we need and what's going on in terms of just the equipment. So thank you to, you and your team. I know you guys have all been working very hard. It's something that I feel personally confident in terms of our HVAC systems. And I feel that anywhere that we do need improvement, I feel that you will acknowledge it and bring it forward. As far as the 1 day a week to 2 day a week, thank you for your feedback. I do appreciate that. The 2 day a week, if you feel confident in it, and it seems that you do and your team does, and the feedback that you guys have been getting into it, it seems very much that you guys are confident that that is the more responsible approach. I can see how 1 day a week can have those challenges, because you're asking various students in small groups to come all week long, or at least the teachers to be on campus all week long, training new students 4 out of the 5 days. So that can be very complicated. I also acknowledge that we are going to have some students that are staying virtual, so we will have some mitigating factors. So thank you, Sean. I definitely agree, and I support what you recommend. So I appreciate it. Well, the only other thing I have is I would just ask Dr. Mendeval and my board president. I think we're going to need a lot of study sessions. I think it's helpful for me to understand where we're at, and for the community. If we can just squeeze them in at least once a week during this period as in the phase in, I think it would be very valuable for the community, for myself, and for the district, just to be able to recommunicate and reiterate information weekly. It would be helpful. So I just want to recommend that. That's all.
Thank you, Board Member Barraza. Vice President Garcia, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Sean McDonald, for giving us that update and the information. We all want to get back to normal as soon as possible. But I still remain concerned with, just the general trajectory and hiccups here and there. And so I just thinking back to the last meeting with the approach of the family of schools. And I know kind of look at it from an equality lens that I know if, let's say, Tempe Higher McClintock opened up and Corona didn't, I wouldn't want to make sure that we were treating our schools the same. So just keeping that in mind, and then also taking each week as they come and evaluating that information and the objective factors that we look into on a regular basis. But with respect to the ventilation, do we have remaining dollars in our CARES for ventilation?
Yeah, actually, I just met with Diane, and we were talking about filters, and of course, all of these increases to what we want to do cost a little money, and luckily, we were able to make that happen with our current dollar amounts. we have to look inside to see if FEMA or DEMA will help support that. CDC does suggest that we move the filter ratings up. So things like that, we are currently doing well on. As we get into, you've already allowed us to use our 3 companies that we are using just in case we need additional support in those type of deals. But right now we feel pretty good with what we're doing. A lot of this isn't a no cost outside of the increase in filters right now. So we will have to see every time you increase the MERV rating. So at 8 and say we go up to say 13 or even 10, that works our system a little bit harder. So the percentage of say what we call the pressure is currently say at 0.21, and depending if we go up to 10 or let's say 13, the pressure could be going up to like 0.3, which is now 30% more pressure on the system. So that could work your fans, your fan motors harder, things of that nature. So we might have a little bit more repair because we want to make sure we're capturing a little bit more through the filter system, but it does put a little strain on the system. So we need to watch that very carefully. So we'll monitor what we can do consistently, whether we will do the MERV 13 or MERV 10 and go from there.
Got it. Thank you. And then one other question. With respect to the deep cleaning days, what does that logistically look like? And would staff be at on campus, or would they be at?
I'm going to interrupt just for a second because I think while this is under a larger umbrella of of the opening of schools, Andres' suggestion to do a study session to address some of these great questions, I'm going to recommend that we kind of, because I think we're kind of crossing the line of some agendized items, because this is not agendized, but it certainly falls under that larger umbrella, and I can see that. What I would recommend, and Andres he's not here to, maybe he's there listening right now, but we will be proposing a study session for this coming next week to talk about a little bit about the athletics, and I'd like to include some of these topics, and we can dive into them a little bit deeper, if that's okay with our board and with all of you guys. Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. I just want to make sure we're able to communicate that info to the community. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Do you guys mind if I say one thing before we go back around the circle again? Thank you. For all I want to say is thank you so much, Mr. McDonough, for your presentation. I do agree with all my board members when I hear that I know everybody is ready for our kids to go back to school. The only thing that concerns me is when we start talking about sending some of our kids back and some of them stay home. I don't feel that's equitable for our teachers or our students, because there's wants on both ends, and I can just see that being an issue, especially when it's our northern schools that are ones going to be closed. It looks like we're catering to one side or the other. I don't want that to be a perception. We're Tempe High all the way to Desert Vista. We're all one district. So I think if we open, we open, we close, we close. So that's just my opinion on that. I will get to board member Helm, and then I'll get to board member Lau.
Thank
So
you, Madam President. Dr. Mendeville, I was just hoping that I could submit some extra questions for the study session that you're going to have next week, because I too didn't bring up some issues because we weren't agendized. So I'd like to email those to you and Mr. McDonald, and maybe we can they can be addressed next week.
Absolutely. I would entertain that very easily.
And
yes.
Madam President, though I kind of differ in opinions, I do respect your opinion. I do not want to see any of our children left behind in northern schools, southern schools, or middle schools. I just also wonder how the students who are sitting there knowing that their school could be open and could be available, and they badly need to get back, and yet they can't because we're waiting. in my mind, we're waiting on ASU students. We're not even waiting on our own, or basically our own families. We're waiting on all of that's happening in the university. So even though we disagree, I certainly respect what you're saying, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ham. I do agree with you on the fact that it's ASU, but I just want to make sure when we say that, because I think the community gets something, they can hear something different when we say we'll open certain schools and not the others. So I just want to say that for us as a board, we always look at every school as equal. That's what I wanted to bring out. All right, Mrs. Lau?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things. First, Sean, you know this, I'm sure, but any kind of facility additions we do to try to clean air has to have a decent rate of return, because this is a temporary fix. And I think we really have to look at the money and be careful what we spend on this. So that was the only thing I was going to say on that. And then as far as the equity, it's unfortunate when you look at Phoenix and how they're not coming back until January. And these are the kids that always suffer. It's the lower economic kids that live in these areas, and we can't let that happen here. So I would be hard pressed not to open Tempe High because of a zip code, or unless it was red for 3 weeks and it was in serious trouble. We have to get these kids back in the classroom. And if we have to take extra precautions with those schools that may have a zip code that is causing some worry, we need to do that. But those are the kids that always get impacted by this, and we cannot allow that. And we can't keep our other schools from opening either. Let's bring all the schools up and open them all instead of bringing them all down to a closed level because of a zip code.
I agree, Mrs. Lau.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you,
Lau.
Mrs. Lau. Do you, Mr. McDonald, you have something to say, or?
No,
can
I
go
would
to
just
the-
say we're going to be looking very carefully at the cost as well. And you're exactly right. This will be a temporary fix. We actually have, MERV 8, which is great. Most houses have like MERV 4 and 5 in their houses. So we feel pretty good with that number, but we may move it up if it's financially able to do so.
Thank you so much. Board Member Barraza, you have something else to say?
Yes, well, there's always going to be more in terms of the conversation going on. But I do think, what my board members have said, really does, resonate in terms of equity and moving forward, also opening up. It's kind of a strange dichotomy we're in, because we would like to do both, and yet there's cautions with both. I think we can find a solution. I really entrust you guys, the district, especially you, Mr. McDonald, and your team with what you guys put together to be able to find some square footage. If we need to invest in trailers, I know that we're talking about cost, but maybe if we can, maybe Dr. Meneville, if you can have Diane look at what number as board members we should be at least wrapping our head around, that is something
Sorry, Board Member Barraza, but we can't discuss that right now because it's not agendaized. So we could bring that into a study session question, but we have to stay on, I have to stay on topic.
And I think that you may have stepped aside. We're having a study session next week. So
okay, that's great. I do know that Dr. Meneville, we're also going back into person during that period, or at least at some time, which I think is, appropriate. If we're going to ask students to come back, then we should be leading from the forward. So if that's the case and that's where we're heading, then absolutely. So although I would like some more study sessions in the future, I do have so many questions, and if we can continue, I know the community has them, but ultimately, Mr. McDonald, if we can look at increasing some of the square footage of our campuses to be able to put in some temporary trailers, or whatever your model, any ways we can look at how we can do that to be able to phase in our approach to make the 2-day approach something more successful, to where we can't backtrack, or where it's easier that we can stay in that mode. I do think that we will be successful so long as the community is successful. And the only thing that makes me nervous is the fall coming up. Everyone's itching to get out, and we just got to be responsible. Even if you don't believe in masks, I really just want people just to wear it, just just in support of the people that do believe in it, so that way we can keep those numbers low. I firmly believe that we can do it, but we're going to have to look at some very creative ways, and equity should be the bottom line. There's a lot I want to say, but I just can't venture into that type of territory of the conversation. So thank you to
Well,
the
this
district.
might be a good
everyone involved.
segue.
Yeah.
This might be a good segue to roll out our, get a lot of
Yes,
echo,
our new video.
our new video. So Warren. And this will be the first of several the schools are going to be working on, but this is going to be released. And this talks about mainly our behaviors that really will be the catalyst of a successful return.
Hey Tempe Union, we're looking forward to welcoming you back to campus.
The purpose of this video is to explain the rules and guidelines associated with returning to school. It will give you an overview of important things you need to know.
Health and safety starts with you, so remember, if you're not feeling well, stay home.
When you do return to campus, we want you to know what to expect so that you feel comfortable and safe at all times.
When you arrive on campus, you'll have your temperature taken. You'll also be asked to provide a yes or no response to 3 important health questions. Additional information will come from each school site regarding this process.
Masks and social distancing will be required at all times on campus. That means in places like
In the classroom,
in the hallway,
in the cafeteria,
in the parking lot,
outside,
even in the bathroom.
in the gym.
Basically, anywhere on campus.
If you're taking the bus, you'll be wearing a mask during your ride. Temperature checks will be enforced prior to getting on the bus. Seating on all buses will also be socially distanced, and occupancy will be limited to 28 students to enforce these protocols. If you're driving to school in a private vehicle, mask up as soon as you get to campus. Masks must be worn properly. It is important to navigate campus properly and maintain social distance whenever possible. Please be sure that you are following the arrows posted throughout your campus. Social distancing guidelines and protocols will be enforced in the hallways, classrooms, cafeteria, and everywhere on campus. Additional information on lunchtime guidelines will be circulated by your campus.
Campuses will be cleaned and disinfected every night. Please make sure you are being responsible for yourself and follow proper hygiene protocols, such as wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds with both soap and water. Use hand sanitizer if hand washing is not an option. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. If you have to sneeze or cough, do so into a tissue that you can throw away. Disinfect your personal items often, like your phone or water bottle. Avoid contact with people who are sick. And most importantly, stay home if you are feeling sick or experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms.
All visitors will be required to check in at the front office and follow the same health and safety protocols as students and staff. For more information about our health and safety protocols, please refer to our Health Mitigation Plan link below. The Health Mitigation Plan also contains contact information for each school site's COVID-19 contact person.
If we all follow the guidelines, we can help keep each other safe. And remember, it's totally normal to feel overwhelmed or anxious right now. There are people on campus for you to talk with, and resources are available for you. There's a link below for additional resources. Don't feel like you have to go through this alone. Reach out.
We may have to physically distance, but we will never emotionally distance ourselves from our TUHSD family members. This is a tough time for everyone, but we will continue to become TUHSD stronger.
Thank you. Now it's time for public comment. Dr. Mendeville, is there any public comment?
We do have public.
Your mic isn't working.
I got it going finally. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Yes, we do have public comment from Dr. Wilson, and I just want to commend Warren and his team and Ms. Sterling and Dr. Wilson. You guys did a great job. We'll also be taking that and put some individuality with each of the schools. Is that my understanding? Okay, so that's going to be working on. We're going to be working on that in the next week or so as well. Dr. Wilson, public comment.
Okay. This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the governing board may not discuss items that are not on the agenda. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Public comment concerning a specific agenda item is heard at the time that item is addressed by the governing board. The public meeting notice provides the method by which the public may submit comment. Only submissions sent to the board comment email address or fax number will be read into the record and provided in their entirety to the board members. Submissions must include the person's full name and address, their organization or affiliation to Tempe Union, such as parent or community member, and the subject or agenda item about which they are writing. Public comment for this meeting was accepted from 1 p.m. Monday, September 14th until 3 p.m. today. Anonymous submissions, incomplete submissions, and submissions containing personal attacks upon board members or staff are deleted. All other submissions are provided in their entirety to the board. 32 emails were received from 1 p.m. Monday until 3 p.m. today. Therefore, we will follow Section C of Governing Board Policy BEDH, Public Participation at Governing Board Meetings, which states that when there are 31 or more speakers, public comment is limited to 1 minute. First comment from student Hannah Stemmel. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please let us go back to in-person school. Other schools in the East Valley are going back, and I have friends there, and they say they love it, and they are so glad they got to go back. I need to go back. I miss learning in a classroom with other students, and especially because I'm a freshman, I want to experience my first year of high school. I don't want it to be online, sitting in bed all day and staring at a computer screen. I was fine with it at first, but now getting into the 7th week of school online, I hate it. I've gotten so annoyed with sometimes not being able to go to class because of internet issues and my computer dying in the middle of class. My grades started slipping last week because I was so stressed about online school, and up to the point where I will cry about grades and missing my friends, and my grades usually never go lower than a B. I've also been sad. Next public comment is by student Abby McCabe from Desert Vista High School, senior at Desert Vista. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need to go back. I am failing classes, sad, depressed, doing poorly, etc. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Don't push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15. Thank you. Oh, Jessica McCabe. Sorry, it was Jessica McCabe, senior at Desert Vista. Next public comment. Student Will Bastian, student at Corona del Sol. Dear Superintendent Mendeville and Governing Board, please let us go back to school. It's hard to learn online. A lot of kids are failing. People are cheating to get schoolwork done. Now some don't want to go back because they will have to actually learn. We need to go back now before it gets worse. Will Bastian. Next public comment is from student Cole Bastian at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, Please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need to go back. I'm doing the worst I've ever done in school, and my mental health is not working for me at all. I absolutely need the option to go back. I'm also terrified for my friends because to me it seems like they have been very different and depressed. If we end up not being able to go back until January, I think there is a good chance of someone leaving my life forever. It's also very hard for me to focus online, and if I have to stay online, it could really affect my GPA and could have a really bad effect on my future. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen, allow us to go back now. Don't push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15 comments. Next, public comment. From Luke Bastian, student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, I am a student at Corona del Sol High School. I would like to ask for you guys to please let us go back to school. Many other East Valley schools are returning or have already returned. It just doesn't seem fair that we don't get a choice to go back. Many students have no motivation to do online work, and others are really struggling trying to learn. Half the time we are forced to teach ourselves, and the teachers just give us assignments to do. Also, we just aren't getting enough social interaction at all. It's been close to a year since we've gotten to see our school friends. High school is supposed to be the best years of our lives, but how can we live up to that when we can't even go to a physical high school? We all want to be safe, but we need to go back to in-person school. To be completely honest, a few of my friends who don't want to go back don't want to only because they are scared they will fail in person, since we haven't learned anything online. This is a big problem and we need to go back to in-person. Next public comment is from DJ Drew. Hi, my name is DJ Drew. I don't like this online schooling because it's harder to keep up with everything else. I would like to go back to school for 5 days. Thank you. Next public comment is from Peyton Burnside, a student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please let us go back to school. Many other East Valley schools are already returning. I need to go back. I am struggling a lot in math, a class that is really difficult for me, but I was able to get through while in person. I've had several breakdowns over not understanding the material and not being able to go work out problems with my teacher in person. I also feel distant from friends and I get lonely being all by myself at home every day. I know that being in person will solve these problems. It will heavily improve my mental state and I will be an overall better student. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Do not push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15 comments. Next public comment is from Emma Stawicki, a student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board, my name is Emma Stawicki, and I'm a freshman at Corona del Sol. Please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning, and I need to go back to school. I'm in all honors classes, and virtual learning is too hard. It is very difficult to constantly be staring at a screen and trying to focus. Doing school all online in the same place and then having to do homework later in the exact same place is awful and draining. I think my teachers are working really hard and try to help as much as they can. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back in person. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Do not push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15. Thank you for your time. Next public comment. Maggie Bauer, a student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, I am a freshman at Corona del Sol and I ask that you please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need and want to go back. It is extremely hard to focus and stay motivated while sitting at home staring at a computer screen all day, every day. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Please don't push it out anymore. Respectfully, Maggie Bauer. Next public comment from Samantha Camino, a student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, my name is Samantha Camino and I'm a student at Corona del Sol. We should not postpone school until January. Many public high schools have already returned. Online school is not even about learning. The teachers pile on tasks, and I know many students who are struggling, such as myself. Not only are students struggling to learn, but they are also struggling emotionally. Many students use school as a way to get away from home and see their friends. I want everyone to be safe, but it is time that we go back. Do not push the return date any further. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15 comments. Next public comment is from Peyton Bauer, a student at Corona del Sol. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, I'm a junior at Corona del Sol and I ask that you please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need and want to go back. It is extremely hard to focus and stay motivated while sitting at home staring at a computer screen all day, every day. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Please do not push it out anymore. Next public comment is from Ember Davis, a junior at Tempe High School. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, my name is Ember Davis and I'm a junior at Tempe High School. Please let us go back to school. Other schools have already returned full-time and some in hybrid form. My little brothers will be starting up full-time in person after fall break in the Tempe Elementary School District. I need to go back too. With online school, it is so easy to get distracted and it is harder to pay attention and participate, especially when you have 5 other people in the house vying for Wi-Fi in a quiet place. I believe that with online school, some teachers are having a harder time and are giving out work that is not as challenging as it would be in person. We are not being held to the same standards that we would be if we were in person. The longer we stay in line, the harder it will be to adjust to the amount of work we will have when we go back. In-person school also gives me the opportunity to communicate with my classmates for projects, activities, and just for fun. I miss my friends. I believe any success we are seeing in online school academically is a watered down version of what. Next public comment is from Brooke Peck, a junior at Desert Vista High School. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, I am enrolled in multiple honors and AP classes. Learning in school have always been enjoyable for me and I have never received less than an A in any class. Currently with online learning, I have multiple B's and even a C. This is causing much stress upon my life and for no apparent reason. I understand that you believe you are doing what is best for the community, but you do not understand this through a student's eyes. It is unreasonably hard to learn online and get the proper education we need. I understand a lot of people are worried about going back to school and getting sick, but please open school for the people that have no major health concerns and are not afraid of possible exposure. I am confident that I am not alone in my opinion, and many people feel this way. The importance of my social emotional well-being along with my educational needs far outweigh the minimal risk of contracting COVID. I love Tempe Union School District and hope to be a proud 2022 graduate of DVHS, but I have thought about enrolling in an. Next public comment is from Tristan Schaefer, a sophomore at Corona del Sol. Dear board members, my name is Tristan Schaefer and I am a sophomore at Corona del Sol High School. I am writing to you requesting that you let us go back to school. I am working as hard as I can to keep up with my grades and it's bringing me a lot of stress. I'm alone all day and have no one to help me with my schoolwork. In addition to my academic well-being, I feel like my mental health has really taken a turn. I miss seeing my friends and being around people. I ask that you all please let us return back to school. It has been 7 months since we've seen a classroom and since we've seen our teachers. Please let us return. Next public comment is Amaya Antonio. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need to go back. My mental health has gone majorly downhill due to not being in school. Additionally, being on the computer for 7+ hours has been extremely difficult and very bad for my eyesight. I understand that this is a difficult decision to make because we all want to remain healthy. However, we can't run away from the COVID-19 forever. I am a senior and have been waiting to have my dream senior year since freshman year. Due to every senior activity being canceled, school is the normalcy that I am holding on to. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Do not push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15 comments. Next public comment is from Andrea Jameson, a student at Desert Vista High School. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already returning. I need to go back. I am failing classes, sad, depressed, doing poorly, etc. We all want to be safe, but we have to get back to in-person school. Please listen and allow us to go back now. Do not push it out anymore. I ask that you read my comment into the record, even if you receive more than 15. Thank you. Next public comment is from Tanya Drew, parent, TUHSD parent. To board and administration, we still have a problem. All the schools east of us have gone back and are going back before us. Our students are suffering and still have to for another month over students who are now getting their needs met in the classroom. Has the board considered and purchased the needed filters for air quality that Kyrene has had in the works for months now? We can't use the criteria anymore for keeping our students out, as we can see now how ASU has brought our numbers up again. You cannot hold our students out of school because of one zip code or ASU influencing our numbers. My student is suffering, as most of his other teammates are, due to this type of instruction of online learning. We need to do something about this. We can see our students are suffering. Open school 5 days. One district east of us have done it for a month now, and it can be done. At least for those of us who want it. Open 5 days for student success. Thank you. Next public comment is from Carly Blodgett. Dear esteemed members of the board, as a Tempe Union educator, I have previously written to the board about how I thought it was reasonable to consider hybrid learning because our health metrics were heading in the right direction, even as I had and still have reservations and questions about how to successfully implement a hybrid model. However, our metrics have taken a turn for the worse. The Maricopa County School Dashboard now indicates that it is unsafe for Tempe Union to resume any sort of in-person instruction. My school is McClintock. My school, McClintock, is also in a zip code where the risk is considered substantial. As such, I ask that our board commit to following those health metrics and do not open schools for hybrid learning until our district and associated zip codes indicated as safe. Thank you. English teacher, Carly Blodgett, English teacher at McClintock High School. Next public comment is from Dawn Westing, parent of 2 Corona sophomores. Dear board members and Dr. Mendeville, our kids need to be back in school in person ASAP. The teachers are doing the very best they can. However, the online format is not working well for many students. I'm sure you have heard about kids' depression, sadness, anxiety, and even worse. There are many parents saying their children are failing classes and have given up hope. Our kids need their activities, their friends, their teachers, their routine. Much of that has been stripped away from them, and they are paying for it academically, mentally, and socially. Many previously joyful kids have started to hate school. If you haven't yet, please talk to mental health professionals. They have extensive information of the impact this is having on teens. Online cannot replicate the complete benefits of in-person learning with our dedicated teachers. We all want those that are still fearful to have a choice. However, those of us that want our children to be educated in person should also have a choice. I believe our board's actions are more heavily slanted to the Our next public comment is from Wendy Silcock, to whom it may concern. I'm writing you today in regards to TUHSD and the delay in getting our kids back in school. I'm disappointed in TUHSD and their handling of our children's education during this pandemic. Initially, it was not safe and we needed to wait until the benchmarks were met, but now they are, and what is TUHSD doing? More delays. For at least 2 weeks, I have watched other school districts, families, and children get back to some sort of normalcy by getting their kids back into a classroom. My child is suffering. She spends at least 9 hours a day at home alone, cries frequently, and one who is normally an AB student has D's and F's in some classes. She is distracted, unmotivated, and not engaged. Virtual learning is failing, and if our children excelled at learning in this fashion, I'm sure that it would already be an option, but that's just it. They don't. Time has shown that children need to be in a structured. Next public comment is from Courtney Milanovich. Dear board members, while I would like nothing better than to safely return to my classroom, I have serious concerns about the definition of safe and the district's execution of a return to in-person learning. Since the middle of March, teachers have used our own internet connections, our own Wi-Fi and cell phones, our own electricity and supplies. We put in long hours understanding the technology and converting lessons to an online classroom. We have and continue to sacrifice for our students. Teachers have not been a part of the decision-making process. We haven't been looped in by district leaders or by TSEA leadership. We haven't been consulted for committees or asked to give input in any formal way. TSEA has not directly communicated to its membership, sent out any formal surveys with published results, or held virtual meetings with all members. Dr. Mendeville promised to have a survey out to the staff by the end of the Next public comment is from Connor Xline, teacher at Marcos Deniza. Please allow me to begin by acknowledging the tremendous amount of work being done by Dr. Mendeville, the executive team, and the governing board. This is a time of incredible stress for all parties, and I appreciate that there are many moving parts to consider. I am concerned that no survey regarding staff concerns has been sent out by district leadership. On September 4th, staff were told that they would receive a survey in the following week. On September 15th, staff were told that we would have one by the end of the day. As of 2:59 on Wednesday, September 16th, no survey has been sent out. I am especially concerned as this is the final governing board meeting prior to the return of students after fall break. Can we, the employees of the district that work directly with students, please be provided some clarification on how our input will be received regarding our concerns? I appreciate your consideration. Thank you. Next public comment is from Avery Tomasi, a graduate from McClintock High School. To whom it may concern, I am a graduate from McClintock High School and was always proud of my district and the opportunities they presented me with. My mother is also a teacher within the district, and my brother, who still lives with her, is one of the highest risk groups for COVID-19. I understand both sides of the argument when it comes to reopening schools, but the fact of the matter is that this is an ever-changing situation, and we cannot take the simple approach of just pretending like everything is normal again. 85281 is not only the fastest growing COVID-19 hotspot in the state, but is one of the fastest in the country due to ASU. 85281 is within TUHSD bounds, and unfortunately, this makes it a dangerous zone. I do believe that schools should reopen, but with the right mix of data and common sense. We all saw how quickly Arizona got back in June, July, and there's no reason that it can't happen again. I would hate for our kids and teachers to be on the front line of this happening. Next public comment is Michelle Baker. Thank you for listening and responding to the community. I appreciate the effort to make the safety plans for the hybrid model, and I appreciate the plans themselves. I have only one final concern, and that is Wednesdays in the hybrid model. I do not believe teachers should remain on campus on Wednesdays. Teachers would be in the way of the cleaning process. I believe Wednesdays should remain work from off campus for staff for at least half of the day to allow for a thorough cleaning. Next public comment is from David Jaffe. Hello, I am a concerned citizen that believes schools should not be reopened before COVID cases are substantially lowered. Sending kids, teachers, and other staff back to in-person operations too early will threaten thousands of lives and protract this pandemic, meaning we all have to stay home longer and wait for a vaccine that will take a year to arrive. Instead, find ways to support online learning and to equip educators with the tools they need to make remote learning effective. Thank you. Next public comment is from David Duplessis, teacher at Corona del Sol. This comment is from David Duplessis, band director at Corona del Sol High School. I'm writing to inform the governing board and the public regarding the instrumental music programs at their schools. Currently, there is no steady source of capital funding from our district to replace aging instruments, some as old as 35 years old that should have been replaced decades ago, like a car that can no longer be brought back to life. Additionally, each band program gets around $480 to repair instruments when it should be around $10,000 to adequately repair and service instruments on a yearly basis. I brought these concerns to my supervisors and district administrators every year for the last 12 years with no real long-term solutions. This repair bill wouldn't be as high if we invest in higher quality instruments over the long term. Now with the COVID-19 pandemic, our strained programs will not have enough instruments to make sure kids are not sharing instruments, which is a big concern with stopping the spread of the disease. Next public comment is from Nicole Eklund, teacher at Mountain Point. My name is Nicole Eklund. I'm a teacher at Mountain Point. With all due respect, please take into consideration the newest data and evaluate how this impacts most of the schools in our district. Mountain Point's location in 85044 does not take into account our open enrollment population from zip codes that have been in the red for the last few weeks. I know board members are watching the numbers, but I also know you are being pressured by those that want things back to normal. Please continue to use science and data to drive decisions, not peer pressure. I know not every student is cut out for online classes. We can continue to make improvements. We can develop new interventions, but please don't rush into in-person instruction until the numbers are going in the right direction. Next public comment is from Emily Schaefer. Dear board members, my name is Emily Schaefer and I'm a parent of a sophomore who attends Corona del Sol High School. I am writing with great concern on behalf of my son as well as the other students of Tempe Union. As an elementary school teacher for Chandler Unified, I know how very important it is to have the students in the classroom, especially our teenagers. I appreciate the fact that you have given options for students who do not feel that it is safe to return. I, however, feel that you need to allow those that do feel comfortable to return to the classroom. It is time. It has been more than 6 months that my son has stepped foot into a classroom. Academically, he is starting to struggle because he is not getting the help and support he needs. The teachers are doing the best they can, however, they are not able to provide the kind of education our teenagers need and deserve while online. I know this because I am a teacher experiencing teaching online. It is a struggle every day. My son's dad and I work full-time and are not able to be home to support him. Next public comment is from Amy Burnside, a parent of a Corona del Sol student. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, I'm a parent of a senior at CDS. I'm also a licensed clinical social work in private practice, and my husband is a Tempe Diablo. I'm writing to ask that you strongly consider allowing the kids to go back to school on October 13th, if not sooner. Please not later. I would also like them to be in school in person more than 2 days you are currently proposing. As a mother and a mental health therapist, I am seeking a huge shift in mental and social health issues in both the students and in my adult clients who are parents. I'm not talking only about an increase in thoughts of suicide, which is happening, but an increase in feelings of depression, loneliness, anxiety, loss of hope, nothing to look forward to, feeling disconnected from friends and teachers and the school community, additional strain on their eyes and necks and back, difficulty learning subjects like math online, and complete and utter computer burnout. The next public comment is from Jacob Harvey. Hello, my name is Jacob Harvey and I'm a teacher in Tempe Union. I am providing comment for agenda item D2, the health metrics update. I am concerned that we are moving forward with in-person instruction on October 12th. The most recent metrics show cases quadrupling in our district and the percent positivity above 7%. These figures do not currently meet the board's resolution to reopen based on those metrics. And this newest fluctuation demonstrates the virtue of proceeding with caution. Additionally, for weeks, staff members have been promised a survey. That survey, which is yet to arrive, was promised again yesterday. Bus drivers, teachers, security guards, custodians, and others will be the people implementing reopening policies, and our voices should have been considered long before plans to reopen move full steam ahead. Lastly, there appears to be no meaningful work, accommodations, or modifications available to staff who have pre-existing medical conditions or who are otherwise at risk of developing COVID complications. Next public comment is from Cora Fox. Dear members of the Tempe Union High School District Board, I am writing as a parent to express my concerns about plans to return to a partially on-campus hybrid model of learning on October 13th. My daughter is at McClintock High School, and although her experience of fully virtual learning this quarter has not been ideal, it has been pretty good thanks to her teachers who have put in so much work making the environment rich and interactive and getting used to the demands of virtual teaching. To stop now and have them switch teaching modes and learn to cope with additional new technology in the middle of the semester is a mistake. It will be an enormous burden to place upon them when they have already been working so hard to educate our children during this pandemic. We have been watching many hybrid models of returning to the classroom fail at K-12 and higher education institutions around the country, and even here in Tempe at ASU, anecdotal evidence suggests that most students who start in face-to-face classroom with some students participating virtually. Our final public comment is from Darcy Strickler. Dear Governing Board and Superintendent Mendeville, please allow the students to go back to in-person learning as soon as possible. My daughter is a good student. She easily gets good grades in this format. My concern is that she is disconnected. She is not interested in what she is blindly watching and is going through the motions to get her grades. She has become increasingly more depressed with the lack of connection she feels to school. At this age, school is everything to them. I see her friends struggling, some barely reaching out anymore. These kids need somewhere to go. They need to feel supported and connected. They know their teachers care. They just don't know how to feel it through a computer screen. Please allow the kids to go back to school. Thank you. Darcy Strickler. That concludes public comment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Then we'll move on to communications by the governing board members. We'll start with Board Member Barraza.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate time. Thank you to the public comments. And it's been an interesting week, just in terms of there's just been heated politics. You know, so I'm going to speak to that primarily, honestly. You know, we have candidates across, we have 8 candidates running for school board in this district. And I think they're all very capable and very great people overall. I'm concerned with the aggressiveness and the you know, I don't really know what to call it, but you know, we have candidates where their signs are being defaced. You know, we had Dawn where his signs were being messed with. You know, we had Berdetta on her birthday on a Zoom birthday call get racist threats and just assaulted. Armando was another candidate. He was having a meet about social emotional wellness and suicide prevention, and someone posted a video of a guy who killed himself right in front of his group. I'm sick and tired of the politics, and that's what I really want to speak with right now. We are a school district, okay? We are first and foremost a community organization, and the board is really just an oversight of what the district does. We balance the budget, or we at least approve it. Diane does that. We approve policies or recommend policies, and we prove it as a board together. We're really an auditing function. So this hatred in the community across all political spectrums has to stop, okay? We're talking students first and foremost. And so it's just really upsetting. And when it comes, it dives deeper than that, because right now we're in a situation where we're playing politics throughout the entire summer with this entire school function of being able to open properly. We have school board members and district staff and teachers trying to focus on being able to open properly. And the politics is just so much that it's just ridiculous. It's just beyond productive conversation. What I heard tonight was the same thing I heard from the people that wanted to remove SROs from our school district. It was students sending a template email to us board members. And I can't believe it, because I'm literally reading the template that was sent to these students. We got parents that are playing politics with the aspect of telling their students, fill out this template, tell them why you want schools open. Re-listen to this entire conversation. Please let us go back to school. Other East Valley schools are already allowed to go back. Period, period, period. Please read my comment, even if there are more 15 submissions. This is getting ridiculous. We had a problem with the SRO situation, and I called them out on it, because you know what? We're doing more work in towards the progress than just this politics. We're not going to answer to this. We're going to do the right thing. So I would really encourage those students that filled out that template, and I know who you are. We listened to your letters, and I know you want to go back. We all want to go back. We all want normalcy. We all want to get back to normal and have our community again. We want to see football. We want to see dance. We want to go to theater. It's just not in the cards right now, and we have to work together. So I want to ask those students that filled this out, and I'm going to ask them the same thing I asked those students that filled out the SRO comments to me and said, I called them out on the template, and I said, if you really feel what you feel, send me a real letter. Send me what you're going through. Send me just a one-page letter and say, my name is so-and-so, I go to the school. This is what I'm dealing with. That is what's going to resonate to us, not a template. I don't care how many emails I get of a template. So thank you to the community that really presented heartfelt thoughts this evening and previous evenings. To those trying to play politics with our students, please just work with the district. Reach out to the district. Dr. Mendeville is incredibly accommodating, and he's willing to listen and work with anyone. So please work with your principals, work with your teachers, reach out to your teachers, give them feedback. We're trying to get the schools open. Right now, we're just dealing with the metrics that just don't make sense. And now we're trying to figure out how to work it forward. But the idea of videos of people killing themselves, one of my best friends killed himself a few years ago. I also had a JROTC and Marcos Denise platoon leader who killed himself in the parking lot. They air evacuated him out from the baseball field. There was another student that, they were playing with guns, and they were at the Taco Bell on Guadalupe and McClintock, and, the gun went off. And he's not here. He died, okay? He's gone. His friends left. and they're dealing with that. And we're dealing with real stuff kids are going through. What we really don't need to deal with right now is the politics, the voting. Support the candidates you want and who you believe in, but leave that out of the district. They're really trying to do some real work. I'm really upset right now. I'm really hurt. And what I really just want is for us to work together as a team, community, board, district, teachers, food service, security. We all got to be able to have that conversation. And the more we get this noise, the more it just takes away the breadth of being able to have that conversation for Dr. Mendeville, for the board, for our principals, and so forth. It's just too much. Okay, just stop. Okay, I love you all. I hope you're all safe. I feel like fall's on the brink, and I think we all can smile about that. Let's figure out how we can do this together. That's all I ask, and that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Board Barraza, for your comments. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will go with Board Member Helm.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, I'd like to kind of talk to the teachers, if I may. I've been trying to look into what they're going through teaching online and what they're going to go through teaching concurrently. One of the things I did, and I hope you can, I hope that reads right. I bought a distant learning playbook, which is kind of a step-by-step guide. I'm sure many of our teachers already have it, but I think it's very worth the cost. There is also one for parents that I think would be excellent too. What surprised me when I looked through it was that the first module talks about taking care of yourself, teachers. It talks about to look for burnout in yourself, to look for being overwhelmed, and to bring in breaks for yourself, to spend a little time with friends and family away from the school setting, because otherwise it can overwhelm you. And you wouldn't be any good to your family or to your students if you're feeling overwhelmed by what is going on. Develop for yourself a mental wellness plan to keep yourself going during these very difficult times. And remember, wherever you are, you're an excellent teacher. And times may be different, they may be difficult for you, but you're giving it your all, and we deeply appreciate, as do our students and our parents, all that you're doing at this time. My next comment goes like Mr. Barraza's to our students. I know you want to go back to normal. I'd love to go back to normal too, but I think there's a new normal out there. We aren't going to go back to the way it was. You will be walking 6 feet apart. You will be sitting 6 feet apart. You will be on the bus with 6 feet between you. You will wear masks. Everything will be different. And I know that's a hard concept to accept. It's hard for all of us, but we really had no choice in this matter. We are trying very much to do our best for you and for our teachers. So stay safe, and we'll hopefully see you October 13th.
Thank you, Board Member Ham. I couldn't get myself off mute. Thank you for your comments, your lovely comments. I'm going to go with Board Member Lau.
Thank you, President Hodge. I just have a few quick comments tonight. I wanted to congratulate our National Merit semifinalists. What a great accomplishment, especially during the time that we're going through. And then I want to thank Tempe High Principal Brian Gulliford and Shelley Arredondo, Eric Cruz, and Suzanne Pashuta for sitting down with me and talking to me. I'm visiting schools again, and I just want a chance to see what's going on, what challenges they're facing, and get some just good dialogue. students, I miss coming out to the schools and seeing you. That's the highlight for me for being a board member. I mean, we go to business meetings like this, but truly the joy comes from watching you on stage, on the field, in debates. And I truly miss it. And I hope you see this. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're almost there. And I think it's going to be sooner than later that you're going to be back in school, and we're going to get everyone caught up, and we're going to move on and do some great things in the district. So just hold on a little bit longer. I think we almost have it made. Thank you.
I'm still on mute. I apologize. Thank you so much, Board Member Lau. I feel the same way. You know, we were out there toughing it together on all these projects, and when we go out to the schools in the community, so I truly, like you, miss it also. We will start with our Vice President Garcia.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I also wanted to thank all of our students and teachers and staff and families for contacting us. You know, please continue to do so. It's important that we hear from you. I also wanted to recognize that September is National Suicide Prevention Month. There's no question we need more support for mental health for our students and our teachers and staff. I know we'll continue working towards those goals. So I'm hoping that we're able to provide more resources as we move forward. Also, I want to take a moment to thank Senator Bowie, Lori Warnock, and Parents for Suicide Prevention for your advocacy in continuing to make sure and supporting our students' mental health. September is also Hispanic Heritage Month, so happy Hispanic Heritage Month to our families. And I also wanted to touch on our gifts and donations. So we have quite a number this meeting. We have donation from community member Brett Nunn to Corona del Sol, Coca-Cola Give to Corona del Sol, McKay's True Value to Corona del Sol. They're donating PPE supplies. Also, I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Community member John Ikazaki to Mountain Point for school supplies, and also to the Maricopa County Unified Command to the district for 26,000 cloth face masks. So thank you so much. And then I'd like to end with also kind of addressing the challenges that our fellow candidates have been going through, and in particular, just being concerned overall, and you know, wanting to make sure that we always remember that we are a community and we're all in this together, and we're working together to provide the best education for our students and the best support for our teachers and staff. But what occurred with Board President Hodge's Zoom bomb is completely inappropriate and disgusting. She should not be subject to such racial conduct, and Armando's Zoom bomb as well, with the suicide there, and as well with John Fletcher's signs. I mean, we are a community and we should be supporting each other. While I know this is a competitive election, I just want to make sure that we always keep that in mind, and that we're always there to support each other too. So that is all I have. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. I won't take up much more time. I just want to echo all what my board members have said, especially about how tough we understand that the community is taking it, teachers, staff, parents, we understand. We're not against each other. We're all on the same page. We want our kids back in school safe. But when we as board members, we don't look at our community, is what I'm hearing out there. It is Tempe, it's TUHSD community through and through. That means every child that walks in our campus, from if they walk to school, they ride to school, if they're out of district, they're in district, there are TUHSD community. So that's what I wanted to strive and say. I'm looking, I got a report earlier today that we don't want to be in a situation that one of Mesa schools, Red Mountain, just tested positive for 2 students and an adult. That's one of the reasons why we're so concerned. That's part of the reasons why we're where we're at today. We get in a lot of comments saying, well, these schools are opening, that schools are opening. But we're Tempe Union. We're going to do what's best for our community. Every East Valley school doesn't have the same zip codes and areas that we have. We have to look what's best for our district. And as board members, I'm so proud to stand with 4 people that I know will support what's best for Tempe Union at all times. I'm so proud to say that I have a superintendent that loses sleep every night trying to make what's best for our district. Our superintendent staff who stay up, I've been on the phone with them. I've called Sean McDonald at 11 o'clock at night concerns, and he picks the phone up. I've called Stacia morning, noon, and night about things. I just want to let the community know that when you say you're disappointed, I couldn't be more proud of the community we have in our district that cares as much about students as they do. I've seen our superintendents, our principals, our teachers almost want to pull their hair out because they're worried about what's going to happen. So I will be, and I'm an elected, and I'm elected until December this year, and hopefully again. But I will stand with my TUHSD community forever, from the, like I always say, from the halls of Tempe High School to the mountains of Desert Vista. We are all in this together. Just want to say another shout out to board member Helm and her beautiful haircut, which I just want to say it took 20 years off your life. So thank you so much for that. We'll get back. Thank you for all. Thank you for Dr. Mendeville. We appreciate everything that you do. Now we'll get back to order. Now, our first order of business is the consent agenda. I move to consent agenda G1 through G7. May I have a second?
Madam President, I second.
Thank you so much, Board Vice President Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have on our board policy, the first policy is ACAA, Title 9 Sexual Harassment, and we'll start off with Dr. Mendeville.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board, executive team. This particular policy ACAA Title 9 Sexual Harassment is recommended for first reading and actually an adoption at this meeting, recommended by by ASBA to expedite approval of the policy so that we can put that in motion. ASBA is recommending this legislative action to member districts to retain current policy documents related to non-discrimination and harassment and add ACAA Title 9 Sexual Harassment. It's a brand new policy that is specific to the conditions of the final rule regulations. As directed in the final rule, districts must, 1, publish a notice of non-discrimination on their websites and in any handbooks, and we do that, provided to students, parents, legal guardians, staff, etc. Secondly, prominently display contact information for the Title IX coordinator, and that individual is Dr. Wilson, in collaboration with respective area assistant superintendents, meaning Sean McDonald in safety and student activities, and Dr. Keller in human resources with our personnel issues. And lastly, prominently display grievance procedures. Again, I say that ASBA recommends governing boards expedite approval of this new policy under policy BGB for policy adoption, which states that policies may be adopted or amended at a single meeting of the governing board when then the proposed policy or amendment is consistent with statute and other policies, and board members are unanimously in favor of adoption. And this is already in statute.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Mendeville. It looks like I see we're going to open it up for questions. It looks like board member Helm.
I'm going to move because I have it on 2 screens here. I have a question or concern about how this reads at the very beginning. I think it's very convoluted and repetitious in the first paragraph where it says the district does not discriminate on the basis of sex and is required by Title IX not to discriminate on the basis of sex, and is required by Title IX not to discriminate in such a manner. Is there not maybe an easier way to rewrite that so we're not being quite as repetitious? Then my other question really deals with how are we notifying our students, our teachers? I mean, this is new. This is very new. And how are we letting even applicants coming in, our unions, our organizations, all about this, our coaches? So I guess my question is to Dr. Mendeville, or maybe Dr. Wilson, I'm not sure exactly who to ask, but how are we going to notify everyone that deals with our school in some way?
So I'll start off, Matt, Board Member Helm, in that the language that's recommended through ASBA, that has gone through ASBA's process for this brand new policy. If this board suggests that we need to look at streamlining language and that kind of thing, then it will delay. I believe much of this is mirrored in statute, which is generally their practice. But we can certainly double check that. With regard to the information, Dr. Keller, we talked about that earlier. We put out information in a variety of ways. It's not like we've never had a sexual harassment policy. It was just part of another policy, which was confusing. That's why they've decided to put this all in its separate, which is actually the way it should be. I've been questioning that for 15 years, actually, in my role in HR and then now today. But Dr. Keller, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Good to see you this evening, Dr. Mendeville. What we do couple things. Every year, the employees have to go out and sign an attestation form that basically says they've seen our employee handbook. And in that employee handbook, it addresses this very policy and explains it and tells them what they need to do. Secondly, anyone who's new to the district goes through a new hire orientation. And we just got done. I trained about 50 new teachers this year. They went through my presentation that I give every year. And part of that is a discussion on sexual harassment, both what it is and how to report it. So it's all encompassed in that new hire training as well. And I think one of the things with Dr. Wilson and Mr. McDowell and myself, one of the things we're looking at doing in the future based on the new piece that has kind of come out is looking how we can put that on our website to make it even more accessible to everyone. But rest assured, we do address it with all of our new folks. And every year, in fact, it's getting ready to go out. Every year, there are compliance videos that our staff has to see. And one of them is the sexual harassment video and how to report that. So that's something we've incorporated starting last year.
Thank you, Dr. Keller. And as I mentioned before, that these are requirements anyway. We've had many of the noticing of non-discrimination, the prominently displaying them. All those things are standard protocol when it comes to these kinds of things. This policy just makes it extraordinarily clear and stands alone for sexual harassment.
As it should.
Okay, Board Member Helm, you can continue.
Oh, thank you. As it should, I was just saying, partially to myself and hopefully to you. Since this is a brand new policy, though, I do feel vitally important, even though it's a topic that our teachers know about and everyone knows about, that letting them know once more that we have this policy that they can refer to is vital. And then Dr. Keller, I guess one of my concerns, and this is due to the fact of something that happened in a Maricopa County school last year, where coaches possibly were not as aware of harassment that, or if they were aware of it, were letting it go among students in a locker room. So I think that volunteers, coaching staff, anyone should be vitally aware of this information. And Dr. Mendeville, to your thing about ASBA, much as I love ASBA, they haven't always phrased things quite quite as well as I would like. And we have, and many times in the past, kind of cleaned up the language to our liking. And that's all I was kind of hoping we could do here, is maybe just shorten and clean it up a little bit. Thank you.
Well, the good thing is that this is already in statute, so we have to follow the law anyway. So if it is at the wish of the board, if we look at the language, we would need to approve it in the next board meeting, so it's on our books. And that's one of the concerns that we can agendize that even for this, yeah, in October. So we'll be okay. It's just that we have to follow the statute anyway. This is just the policy that accompanies it.
Dr. Mendeville, could I just address the piece about the students for Board Member Helm?
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Helm, the students all receive the handbook, and so there's a video that goes over it that's specifically outlined in pages 10 and 11 of this year's handbook. Also, starting last year, all of the schools received signs with information about this, and they are posted in the common areas in each campus. So if you go in the front office, they're also here in the district office. So that gives them information about who to report it to and get that information. So I just wanted to say that in terms of the information the students receive. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mrs. Helm.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Wilson. And truly, it wasn't the students. I know they receive all this information. It is like volunteers and coaches and people who may not be on our campuses in a permanent situation. And I think we've all seen things hit the newspaper that have dealt with people who don't seem to know about sexual harassment, which surprises me, I'm sure, as it does you. But that's what I worry about this policy. Thank
Well,
you.
I can tell you that the AIA has this, they have to abide by these policies as well. And I would put money on it that they are also dealing with this and having to impart this knowledge with their coaches and staff, because we will be doing that with our own coaching staff. Please
One
know
last
that.
thing, Madam President, if I may, one last thing. If you want to go ahead and vote on this tonight with the understanding from Dr. Mendeville that someone will look at maybe cleaning up that first paragraph and shortening it a little bit, I'd be happy to vote yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Board Member Helm. It looks like I see Board Member Barraza who has a comment or a question.
Yes, actually, it goes in line with Board Member Helm's, concerns, actually, in terms of, diffusing information across. And actually, I think she just addressed it at the very end. I was just going to ask you, Board Member Helm, if you would be comfortable supporting it with the modifications and since it's policy, the modifications, and we approve that with the understanding that Dr. Mendeville would diffuse the information, and I almost feel like, Dr. Mendeville, when we sat too, I was shocked, just like you were, that, we didn't have a specific focus policy on sexual harassment, nor did the legislature or ASBA or anyone really consider it. It was always bundled into other aspects. And so I agree. It's just something that anyone that starts to take on employees as a company, you tend to have a sexual harassment policy off the bat. That's just standard. So I think this is great. And I think Board Member Helm has some great points. Would it be necessary if we have staff sign acknowledgement that new staff that comes on board acknowledge that, or volunteers or something? I'm just not sure about that. Other than that, I think it's great that we're going to be able to focus down on a policy, sexual harassment. I love Board Member Helm's concerns, and I think we should just be able to know, or I just need to know how it's diffused information wise. I saw Dr. Keller. I think she was going to address my concern too.
Part of the what I was going to expect, and I know maybe Dr. Keller is going to say this, but whenever we have a policy like this that's brand new, it's brand new in it by policy in itself. It's not a brand new understanding in our district, because we have professed since I've been here for 10 years that this is not tolerable. We're not going to tolerate sexual harassment or any harassment of any kind for that matter. But we will make a deliberate effort to announce this to all our employees, our volunteers, our classified support, and all of our employees just in general. This law is now here, and please take note of it. So we'll make a concerted effort to have that out.
Really quick, I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that nobody listening made the misconception that we didn't have a policy. I think you addressed it clearly. The policy was always written into multiple policies, and it was very stringent. This is more of a legal clarity and being able to establish it. And I just want to make sure that the community understood that we've always had a strong sexual harassment policy. This just is taking it to the next level of being able to be productive and clear for everyone across the board. That's all. I just wanted to make sure I chimed in on that.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much,
you.
Board. Thank you so much, Board Member Barraza. Does anybody else have a comment? Vice President Garcia?
Really quick, Dr. Keller, I know she had your hand.
Say, Dr. Keller, did you need to? I couldn't see you. I'm sorry. Did you need to say something?
No, Dr. Mendeville said exactly what I was gonna say, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we'll get to Vice President Garcia. Thank you so much, Board Member Barraza.
Thank you, Madam President. Board Member Helm took, addressed it, what I had to share, but I had one thing, and I'm very nitpicky with some of the obviously language. So I'm glad that Board Member Helm addressed that. But in the fourth paragraph, when it talks about designating Title IX coordinator, they're referring the last sentence title is not capitalized. So that was just my my little nuance. So that's all I have.
You're going to make an awesome attorney.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted for it to be consistent.
Thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. Dr. Mendeville, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
She likes saying that.
No, I don't. I do not. Does anybody else have any comments that they would like to say today? So are we all in agreement that we can vote on it with the amendments being made that Board Member Helm, Board Member Barraza, and Vice President Garcia have put forth? Okay. So I will I will move to approve ACAA titled 9 Sexual Harassment with all the amendments being done to it. May I have a second?
Madam President, I second.
Thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? The policy approves 5-0. Okay, thank you. Our next policy is ACA, sexual harassment, and we'll go back to Dr. Mendeville.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. ACA, again, is based on legislative action. So ASBA's revisions to Governing Board Policy ACA sexual harassment clarify that sexual harassment in the workplace, and this is the differentiating piece, is being addressed for the purpose of an employee complaint to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. The definition standard of sexual harassment is different under this circumstance than under Title IX, which is why they wanted to make it clear and separate. ASBA recommends Governing Board policies expedite this approval as well, because this is a legislative action, and we have to be in compliance with all the Title IX. So funding that we receive for programs, our education programs and athletics, we have to be in compliance with all of that as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mendeville. We will start off with questions. We'll start with, we'll see what Board Member Helm.
I'm sorry, it's always me. I know everybody's looking so tired, they're ready to go home and thinking, wouldn't she shut up? My question, and it isn't, it isn't about changing or anything wrong with the policy. I think it's long overdue, these changes, and I think it's not poorly written. What I guess concerns me, and I'd like us to think of somehow down the road, is the second paragraph from the bottom. If you can all scroll that way, a substantiated, that's the key word, a substantiated charge against a staff member in the district shall subject such staff member to disciplinary action. Something I wholeheartedly agree with. But what happens if someone makes an unsubstantiated charge and it is become public? What happens to the person who's making that charge? And just food for thought, Dr. Mandeville and board members down the road, because I have seen this happen, and I know it says to be confidential, but you and I both know things don't always stay confidential. And when that charge is sometimes put out there, it's very difficult for that person's reputation. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Board Member Helm, am I not? Okay, I'm not muted. I'm going to comment on that just briefly, and maybe I'll steal the words from Dr. Keller because she's sharp and she's probably thinking of it herself. You know, we have a pretty diligent investigative process, and through that process, we find the facts. You know, we want to make sure that we are providing. If those allegations are true, certainly there will be consequences. But if the allegations are merely, they're made up and there's no truth behind it, that individual who's alleging will also have consequences to some degree. So, and we take that very seriously because you're right. You know, someone's reputation could be destroyed or at least marred because of someone who may have a vendetta or something of that nature. So, and I'm confident because I know that Dr. Keller's put but in her investigative protocol, she's very thorough and really gets to the nitty gritty of the details, and really, one detail can lead to another detail in that process. So, but your point is well taken. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Mendenville, can you mute yourself? The reason why I keep telling them that is because
that's fine.
we keep echoing off each other, and it sounds really weird to poor June's ears that she has to hear that. So we're just trying to make sure that I be cautious. So as the same as the amendment before, are we allowed? Do you guys feel okay with approving it tonight? Can I get like nods ups or thumbs ups or something? Thank you so much. I do see that. Looks like we're all into it. Then I move to approve ACA, sexual harassment. May I have a second?
Madam President, I second.
Thank you so much for that. Vice President Garcia, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Policy approves 5-0. Next, we just have one item under business services. It's an amendment to our IGA with Arizona Department of Economic Security, Rehabilitation Services and Administration for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Are there any questions on that before we? No questions? It looks like no questions. Okay, so I will go on. I will move to approve business service item I-1. May I have a second?
Madam President, I second.
Thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. The next item under Human Resources, I move to approve superintendent's contract. May I have a second?
Madam President, I second.
Thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, next we move to our new business. The ASBA requires governing boards to select a delegate and alternate to vote on at the October 29th county election and December 3rd annual business meeting.
You're that delicate. That's what I understand.
So I'm going to read the next thing. It says, I am your representative for the October 17th delegate assembly, and Mr. Barraza, who will have to be there with me, is my alternate. We're happy to. Well, actually, we're not, because I have someone who said I would like to let Vice President Garcia speak for a second, because he has something he wanted to say about that.
Oh, so for the, because President Hodge is doing the ASBA statewide, and then this one, from my understanding, is for the county.
Mhm.
So I can go do that and represent us.
Well, thank you so much for that, Vice President Garcia. Is there any objections for him doing that for us? I don't think there's going to be any objections. So, well, thank you so much for your service, Vice President Garcia. We'll get that started for you. So I move that the governing board approves Vice President Garcia as a delegate, and Board Member Barraza, do you want to be his alternate, or?
I'm available and I'm always ready to learn, so I'd love to.
Okay, and Vice President and Board Member Barraza as alternate to vote on the ASBA county and annual meeting. May I have a second?
Oh, I'll second, because I guess Brian doesn't want a second.
Well,
He's-
okay.
I will second. He's wonderful. He'll be great.
Okay, thank you. Well, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We do have two information items. First is our financial report through September 4th. Is there any questions? Doesn't look like it. And the other item is our meeting in October, unless there's any other objections. We're having one meeting in October on October 14th. Is everyone okay with that? Okay, Board Member Ham.
Why?
Superintendent Garcia will answer that question for us. Oh, Superintendent Garcia, Superintendent Mendeville, I am so tired. I am getting, okay, you have been, you're now the superintendent, Vice President.
And Dr. Mendeville, I'm asking because so often we hear from our community that maybe we're not being as transparent, and to suddenly during this difficult time totally do away with one of our normal monthly meetings kind of concerns me on how that may appear to some.
Thank you, Madam President, and Board Member Helm and others. This all actually began when we were looking and strategizing about just dates for not just study sessions, but looking at the forums that are going to be presented, and then for the candidate forums for Tempe Union, and but also the fact that that week of October break is right in the middle of the meeting. Okay, we have a meeting right in the middle of that break, and everyone needs time to decompress after the fourth quarter, all the summer planning, but everyone, including the members of my team, but district office and our principals, they need to decompress, and I think it's only fair that we give them that opportunity. Of course, if it's necessary that we have a meeting to approve business and that kind of thing, we would schedule a meeting for that purpose. We are going to have a meeting next week, a study session, as I mentioned earlier, around the athletic programming to give you an update, but also on the startup of school, looking at the data once again, but talking through a lot of the health mitigation protocol questions that you had and that we certainly want to answer. So that's how that began.
Okay, I guess I will just express myself one more time. I'm worried at how it will be perceived. I can understand moving it from fall break maybe to another date, but or having another study session in October about this. But I think our community is waiting to hear, and when we cancel something, it looks like we don't wish to tell them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any comments on that?
I just want to make it clear, this is a recommendation. It's not something that's in stone. We can certainly go with our schedule as is. you know, there's not, we're following, we're in compliance with the law to have at least one per month. I will tell you that we are going to be looking at the schedule for next year for meetings, so it doesn't quite interfere with some of these breaks that all of our employees need to have to recoup.
Thank you, Dr. Mendeville. Is there any more comments on it, Board Member Barraza?
Yes, I think that Board Member Helm addressed my concerns very accurately. And Dr. Mandeville, we had conversations about that. I looked at my notes and saw that we do have study sessions scheduled by the board president and by you. That's really my ultimate concern. As far as meeting, you know, in terms of a board for voting purposes, I'm okay that we don't unless it's necessary, but I do like the idea of study sessions because I think Board Member Helm did bring up a really good point. I think that closer to October 13th, there may be some needs that we may as a board need to situate. So as long as the president, the district, or somebody can call a meeting if it's necessary, I would feel comfortable with saying October 14th, as long as we have that study session and we keep being able to diffuse the information across. That ultimately is my biggest concern, is making sure the information is diffused and making sure that the community is being able to get that information. That is all. That is all I have tonight for that.
All right, well, thank you, Board Member Barraza. I will also confirm that if needed, we will definitely have another study session. We probably will in sometime in October, so that will be another part of it. Board Member Helm?
Dr. Mandeville, you alluded to part of the reason for not meeting is because we have a lot of candidate forums. As Mr. Barraza stated earlier in his commentaries, it's nice to keep politics out of it and remember we, the current board members seated here, have work to do. And our community expects to see us doing that work. They expect to see us meeting, and they expect us not to be hiding behind political forums. Thank you.
You're absolutely correct, Board Member Helm. When we were looking at it, it was more about the meeting hitting at the time of fall break than anything else. I didn't even think about a form when it was presented to me. I thought about the fact that it's the Wednesday that the superintendents and the district would have to come in on the only time they have a fall break. If we need to add another meeting, we definitely can, but that's the only reason why that was moved.
Okay, thank you. I recommend at some point we look at a date for adding another meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Board Member Lau?
Yeah, I just want to say really quickly, as much as I find study sessions interesting, they really are for rare occasions when we are voting on something. And the point is, when you want a lot of study sessions, that takes a lot of time from our staff to prepare for these. And right now, everyone is working long hours. So I would say if we need information, we should probably do it within a board meeting and have an agenda item rather than a full-blown study session.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lau, on that. And also to let you know that we will, in that month, we only have 3 board members. So that's another reason why we looked at it too, because we have Vice President Garcia just brought that to my attention that he will be out for it. And
I won't.
huh?
I won't.
You won't. Who will be?
If you,
Huh? Excuse me.
if you are
Oh.
relating to the forums.
Oh, okay.
Madam President, what I'm going to say is just that let's not, this was just simply a recommendation. Why don't we just go with the same 2 meetings? I'm perfectly fine with that. There was no intention to not be transparent or and if we need to conduct tag a study session on to one of those meetings, because I do agree that we have to get some information out with the athletics, and then some more detailed information about the health mitigation plan. We certainly can make it all work. So I think we just need to keep the 2 meetings that were scheduled in October.
I don't want to, I would have 2 meetings, but I don't want it between fall break. I still think that's unfair to our district that they have to come in on the fall break. So maybe we can request to move the meeting the week after, which we say on the 14th, and just push each meeting down instead of having it through fall break. I don't mind that. Huh?
That sounds like a good idea. May I recommend that you and Superintendent Mendeville sit down and maybe you can get the board's dates on what's good and we can proceed. Thank you for listening to me.
You're very welcome. So we will get back to that. But as of now, do you guys agree with the fact that we push back that first meeting until after fall break? Okay, and then we'll get the second one on the books after that. Thank you. All right, so our next meeting, our regular meeting will be October 14th because we're pushing it back that week. Board members and 3 of our 4 executive team will be present in the boardroom. There isn't room for us to have more than that. Still enough space to social distance, but the meeting will be streamed live on YouTube, public on the YouTube channel for our public. So we'll be back in the boardroom as of October 14th. As the board. Okay, is anything else? All right, well, thank you on that. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam President, so moved.
Thank you so much. And a second?
Madam President, I second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, motion passes 5-0. You have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank
Be
you.
safe,
Thank you.
everyone. Take care. Good night.
Aye.